What's up, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here, representing the United States of America with a watch that I am very excited to show you. And as you can see there, that we've got the presidential seal on there with Air Force One. And we can see that this box, which is the standard Shinola wooden box, is painted in an aquamarine blue, I believe is the color. And you can see Shinola Detroit. This is a watch that I've actually been hunting down for some time now, and pretty excited to finally get it. One of the things that I want to share with you here is kind of the backstory on it, as I'm just kind of showing you. We get the standard stuff here, and I don't know that I have all the dates and the information right. You know, the one thing about the Shinola limited edition watches and some of these one-off special watches that they make are the lack of details out there. And I will say, kind of in the last year of the Obama administration, Shinola, and you may know that Barack Obama and I believe Bill Clinton both wear Shinolas. I think they were gifted them by Shinola, which is great. And Shinola actually had a pretty good relationship with the Obama administration at the very end of the tenure. In fact, a number of things came out of it. Barack Obama, I believe, gave all his staffers a Shinola watch, kind of the Runwell with that subdial having the presidential emblem on it. And then there was also a Marine One, the helicopter squadron for the president, also had a special edition watch, which was kind of olive drab green. And then there was also this watch, which was basically built and given to everyone on Air Force One, pilots and crew of Air Force One. And then I want to say that happened probably somewhere in 2016. And I don't know the exact timing on that because at the time it wasn't really made public, and so everyone on Air Force One got it. I have a kind of a thing for Air Force One. It's just a super cool, you know, plane and history and, you know, interesting things about it. In fact, when I was growing up, I had a buddy, Terry Harold, who was a composer and music director and things like that, and he actually composed the music for an Air Force One documentary. I think it was on PBS at the time, so this is probably like 1990, 1989, and he composed the theme song for it. It was just awesome, and it actually gave me a copy of it on cassette tape, if you remember what those were. And I just listened to it over and over because it was so majestic and regal and everything else. And now there have been a number of Air Force One documentaries as well as a dramatic movie. And Air Force One kind of is its own living, breathing thing, and it's a big symbol of the United States, and I've always just been a little bit infatuated with it. So the fact that Shinola made a watch commemorating Air Force One and the crew was just kind of really, really intriguing to me. So 2016, I think everyone got a Shinola watch, and then just like this. And then in 2017, January 2017, they released 150, I believe, numbered watches to Foundry members, and I never went on sale to the public. That 150 is a very, very small run for these watches, and at the time I didn't buy it. It was $1,250, and I've kind of always regretted that a little bit, but you know, it's not easy to come up with $1,250 all the time, especially when you have other Shinolas. And so I'm, you know, you gotta watch the dollars. But anyway, it came across that I got an opportunity to buy this, and kind of came with the way of some politicians. So I don't know how reliable that the history of it is, but something I want to show you here is that, one, you might notice in this box we only have the watch box for a single watch, right? So if you bought the limited edition, I think you not only got the watch, but which was on I want to say it's on like the stainless steel band like this, but then you also got a leather band and a rubber band, I believe, as well. And so the limited edition came with those three. And so the telltale sign of having the limited edition is having the different watch bands with it. Now this one, since it only has the one storage unit, would suggest that it came from someone on the Air Force One crew, right? Now the other thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to flip it over, and I want to show you the back here, and what might be a little hard to see, so I'm kind of doing everything in reverse. We have the President, United States of America, Air Force One seal on the back. Got my fingerprints all over everything. And then right up here we have the serial number for the watch. Now these will all be serialized, and then afterwards this number actually on the limited edition ones would be further over to the left, and then you would have X of 150 printed after it, right? So this is not one of those 150. And so what actually was told to me is that this came from one of the Air Force One crew, given to the hands of someone in the Obama administration. I'm not sure what that means. And then made its way to New York, and then it made its way to me. So I think this watch was kind of a gift along the way to people, and I don't know how much actual wear it got, which is great. I don't mind being the first to really kind of break this sucker in. But that being said, this one is not one of the limited edition ones, even though you could kind of call it limited, right? So I've kind of gone on a long diatribe there to tell you the story of this watch, but I'm really excited about it because I just think it's really kind of interesting and looks really cool. So the history of Air Force One is also fascinating, which I'm not entirely familiar with everything on it, but maybe I'll share some details if you want to stick around. So what we have is a brushed stainless steel band here, as you can see, three rows of brushed stainless steel. The thing that I've noticed on the Shinola stainless steel bands is that the lug bar here is rounded, and that's really to kind of clear, because of these short wire style lugs, the case itself. Now, most stainless steel bands will either have kind of a fill in here so that it'll kind of fill in the whole place like a Rolex or a Tag Heuer, but this does not. It doesn't go all the way up there. And secondly, a lot of the bands that don't have a fill in piece will just be kind of straight across. So kind of what I've noticed here is the Shinolas have this telltale kind of droopy crossbar there. And then we have the deployment clasp here, which is kind of a standard deployment clasp, but it's really nice. I mean, it feels good. It's really solid and robust. Doesn't feel like a cheap deployment clasp at all, but it's kind of a standard, butterfly deployment clasp like that. Then everything else starts looking a little bit more Sport Chrono, I think, is the kind of the base model for this. I may be wrong. You've got the wire lugs, which are kind of typical on the Runwells, and then we have this outer bezel, which is kind of their sport bezel, and it's in a little bit of this matte finish. Let's see if we can get in on it. Kind of this blasted ceramic look, and it's also in the what I will call ultra aquamarine. I believe that was the actual term for it at the time that they were manufacturing it. We've got the 10-minute markings marked in Arabic numerals with numbers on the fives. We have a block here up the noon. We have a brushed edge for the coin edge, but you can see that the case itself is all polished, kind of bowl shaped. And does the bezel rotate? Of course it does. Unidirectionally, can't get it going the other way. Nice solid clicks, very loud, pretty big clicks in between. I actually don't know how many clicks for one revolution, but pretty substantial size clicks. But it's also meant, as you might think, Air Force One in an aviation theme. Now what it uses is the Argonite 515 24-hour GMT movement. I like the fact that it says Shinola and it says Detroit on the dial. A lot of the Shinolas now don't say Detroit. You can see a real deep angled to the outer edge with the 24-hour markings. We have square loom at each of the hour marks, and then minute markings inside. We have kind of some sword style in ultra aquamarine as well. Hands, loom filled here, and then I like the GMT hand here is very aeronautical with the little red airplane on the tip. But everything else, the second hand on that hand is also silver. If they had made this like the ivory to kind of blend in with the face, they could have done that too. I actually like the way they've done it here. And then we have the President of the United States Air Force One seal in that 6 o'clock position. Really cool. I like that the red outlines the date window there at the 3 o'clock position too. And you can see, the numbers are black and raised just a little bit. They didn't kind of go overboard. It's interesting, the font when it says United States of America on the side of the airplane, that was kind of lifted from the Declaration of Independence. I think they could have even integrated that a little more, maybe in the font and the numbers. I'm glad they didn't go overboard with it. I think this is just a nice looking watch. One of the things that I was a little worried about is this ultra aquamarine. Even though I love it on the Air Force One, it does tend to look a little bit like a baby blue or a powder blue, and kind of maybe looks a little bit feminine or something like that. And so I generally haven't sought this out because it kind of looks like a Tiffany blue, right? But I think in person it looks much more impressive. You can see here we have knurled onion style crown, screw in, screw down, and if I rotate it in the first position, we're doing date change. All right, so in the first position, if I rotate anti-clockwise, counterclockwise, I can move the GMT hand to wherever I need to. And then when I go out to that third position, now I can adjust the actual time, and it's going to move both. So you're going to want to actually set the time generally first, your main time, and then go back and adjust the GMT hand. You can see hacking seconds right there too. So I'm just going to push this back in, screw it back down. This jumps out of my hands, slippery little devil. Now, I think it's interesting that they picked this color, which I think is a really unique color for Air Force One. I won't get into the whole history of it, and I cannot remember the guy's name. He was kind of one of the original madmen, but I think he actually criticized President Kennedy at the time for flying in like an Air Force jet with bright orange coloration, which was kind of like the Coast Guard and kind of an emergency craft coloration. And you know, legend has a lot of different versions of it, but the fact that he kind of designed the Air Force One plane, and really that design, which if you saw the JFK plane, you would see definitely how that's evolved, but yet stayed very, very true to that original design over the course of the other planes. And really what it had, it was a sky blue, and then a deep aquamarine blue, and an ivory color, gold lettering, you know, so that it's really just stayed true to that design. And really kind of the most unique color is what he called the ultra aquamarine blue. Now I don't know that I'm getting that entirely correct, but that's what you would kind of recognize, and I think that's how this watch ties in so well and so visually and so obviously to the airplane. You know, if they picked the sky blue, that could have been any other watch, right? But this one is really kind of unique. So really excited about having this one. And I guess I should say, as I'm putting it on the wrist here, I think the limited edition watches were 48, 49 millimeters. I actually don't know exactly what they advertised to be. I think maybe 49, but let's call it 48. And what I did do is I measured this, and this comes out to basically 48 millimeters. So it's a fairly large watch. It's a little bit droopy right now because I have, you know, I just got it and I haven't sized it, as you can see here. So I'm just kind of balancing on my wrist here. But it's a pretty big watch, and I wear it about a 7-inch wrist, but I like this. Now, I know some of you guys hate the big chunky watches. I think this looks great. You know, for me, it's a perfect size watch, and it is a little big, and it has definitely some heft to it. But for me, this is not the right shirt to be wearing with this watch because the coloration does not match. But I would be happy to wear it this size. And to be honest, because I heard it was between 44 and 48, I knew either way I was going to be fine with it. So I'm pretty excited about checking this one out, wearing it, showing it off. And the reason I wanted to spend so much time with you on it is because there isn't a single video out there. And to be honest, there isn't much written about this watch either. So pretty excited to have this one, and it'll go in my watch box for sure. Check it out. You can pick out a lot of other Shinolas. I'll put a link to some of the cool ones they have out there these days in the description below. Peter Von Panda, out!